Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of what has to be Nickelodeon's best, most memorable, and most remarkable show of all time, and even one that has a lot of fans, critics, and accolades singing praises to this show, and one of the best examples, or even the best examples, of having Western style animation mesh well with Japanese style animation, and that is the show that needs no further introduction, Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was directed by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, and has also had writers such as James Hubbard and Aaron Ahash working on the most memorable episodes of the show, and has had very great animation directors like Joaquim dos Santos. Now, with my personal experience of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I started watching this when I was about 13 years old, when it first came out in 2005. I wasn't so sure of how I was going to make this show out to be, because I've been basically spoiling myself with Cowboy Bebop, Wolf's Rain, Technolize, the Sayuki trilogy, Dragon Ball Z, and Sailor Moon, and even that of some Tenchi Muyo in the mix, and even a lot of the anime that I caught in Animex, like Detective Suikyu and Ghost Stories. But it was safe to say that I wasn't so sure of how Avatar: The Last Airbender was gonna hold out compared to these. But surprisingly, during the times that I've had watching with this show, it really has, and more, with flying colors. Even when I approached high school, I was still a fan of this show, and even to this very day, I am still such a huge fan of this show, which is no surprise that it's had such great Asian influences and very wonderful characters, and even well thought out story plots, which I will get to later when I talk about the story characters and everything else. And this also has a very strong and devoted fan base of people who are extremely willing to say that this is one of the best things ever. So let's get on to what I thought about the story, animation, music, characters, and the voice acting. Now, the story goes like this. Aang, who is a 12-year-old airbender, has encased himself in an iceberg for 100 years, until he's been found by two siblings, older brother Sokka and younger sister Katara, who are basically part of the Water Tribe. They free him, and they realize that he could be the next Avatar. He could be the one who can stop the tyranny of the Fire Nation from overruling every land and every country and restore the balance. Aang is not so sure at first, but through rigorous training and through meeting new friends, encountering new enemies, and getting himself into such very interesting and very well thought out situations, he is, well, garnering himself towards becoming the next Avatar that will redeem the world. And this series has also been divided into 3 seasons. The first season talks about Aang's training to become like an expert in waterbending, or training to become a waterbender, aside from his native airbending. The second season involves Aang practicing earthbending and training to be an earthbender. And then the third and final season sees Aang training to become a firebender, to master all of these elements and become the new Avatar. And I have to say that at first glance, this may seem like a fantasy action-adventure show, but it's more than that. It's got humor. It's got drama. It's got slice of life. It's got mystery. It's got suspense. It's got thriller. It's got everything that manages to become such a great package and really making the show come to life. This definitely is an interesting mesh of different genres and different types of entertainment. It just becomes so intricate, so well thought out, and especially the character development and the character arcs that each of these characters go through makes me want to root for them, makes me want to be their best friend, and everything about it is just so strong and so well executed in its writing, in its execution, and it's just so well done. Even though there were some episodes that I didn't really care for or didn't seem to care for, it didn't matter. Everything was just so flawless from beginning to end. Every single time I would just keep watching these episodes on repeat, and it becomes apparent that this is a very well thought out story. You can tell that DiMartino and Konietzko really had plans for the stories to further on. They had a beginning. They had an idea of how the story was going to push forward, and they even had an ending, which really goes to show you how well thought out each of these stories really are. And it's just that awesome. So it's no wonder why this series has garnered and even won some awards, including some Emmys. This really shows you how much prestige and how pristine the show really is. So it really is a huge win when it comes to the writing department. The animation is some of the most intricate and some of the most gorgeous that I've ever seen, which is no surprise because they seem to take tips from the likes of Hayao Miyazaki, Satoshi Kon, Shinichiro Watanabe, and many, many other important figures in the anime industry, including the likes of Osamu Tezuka. You could really see that the animation really does shine. With some characters, you see that they have like big noses. A lot of characters have pointed noses and really well-formed noses as well, and also well-formed facial features. And every single character design is just so well detailed and just so gorgeous to look at as well. And it's just so gorgeous. Everything, every movement that the characters make, it's just so well thought out, intricate, and naturally flowing. Even though there are small moments as well, they still are really great as well. From the flexing of Chan's bicep on the beach, to the very intricate fight scenes, to seeing the benders just really mastering their skill. It's just so, like, jaw-dropping. It's just jaw-droppingly amazing. Even the backgrounds are just wonderful as well. It makes me want to step into their world and just really have a ball there, which is no surprise when it comes to the elemental bendings. These type of bendings have been like inspired by the likes of different types of martial arts. For example, did you know that firebending is inspired by Shaolin Kung Fu, based on all the punches and kicks? Did you know that earthbending is inspired by Hungar Kung Fu, based on all the straight and strict and strong movements as well? And did you know that waterbending is based on Tai Chi? This makes the show even more interesting because even DiMartino and Konietzko have hired senseis, sifus, and martial arts experts to really see how the fluidity of each movement is in order to implement these movements onto the movements of the benders. Whether it's the soft, graceful movement of a waterbender, the exciting movement of an airbender, the stomping movements of an earthbender, and even to the ferocity of a firebender. Each movement has been implemented as well, and there are a lot of other martial arts involved, like capoeira, jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, batojutsu, and many other martial arts that I can't really name on the top of my head. But it's still well executed in its movements, and it's just awesome. So it's no wonder why the animation really gains high praises for me and to a lot of other fans as well. The music is some of the most intricate that I've ever heard, with a lot of gongs being used, a lot of percussion, woodwind instruments, wind instruments, and even some orchestral scores being used as well. And even the use of sitars as well, which has a very Asian and Oriental-like feeling to the show, which makes sense because it's really pretty much set in a lot of Asian countries, and it's very Asian in its atmosphere and its feel. So it really does feel like a face for the ears and not just for the eyes. And let's get on to the characters, the very aspects of the show that I'm extremely excited to talk about. Because these are characters I can root for. These are characters I want to be best friends with. These are characters that I just feel so enthralled with every single waking moment, even though some of the characters can be villains or assholes or jerk-offs. Still, there's always a charm to them nonetheless. So let's start off, and even there are characters, like I said, that I could become best friends with, from the likes of Aang, Katara, Zuko, Sokka, Suki, Toph, Yue, Song, Jin, Mei, Ty Lee, and even Uncle Iroh himself, and even that of King Boomy. They're all such wonderful characters that I can just have a ball with and just be best chums with. So let's start off with Aang, who is the main hero of the story. Aang starts off rather unsure and almost like every other typical 12-year-old boy, though he notices that he has a mission in his life. He's someone who stands strong and firm for what he believes in, someone who is never afraid to give up despite the uncertainties that he's felt and dealt with his life. He's someone who has a strong moral code and someone who stands firm for what he believes in. He stands for what is right. He stands for what is just. And despite uncertainties and obstacles in his life, he basically is someone who works hard for it and marches forward all the way through. And then you have Katara, who starts off as Aang's mentor and also ends up as pretty much his love interest. Katara is another character that I treasure in this show. She's someone who is strong, willing, and pretty much a great female role model to a lot of young girls out there. Which also makes sense because Katara lost her mom many years ago and has sort of taken up the role of a very responsible adult. It's never easy in her position, but you really want to root for her. And yeah, despite the fact that she's also Sokka's younger sister, she's someone that manages to hold well on her own. She's someone who's very capable of waterbending. And yes, she may have snapped a few times, especially in the episode Southern Raiders, but she's someone who's also quick to forgive and someone who you can have your heart go out to because, yeah, she has been dealing with a lot of triumphs and trials and tribulations with her life, but then nonetheless, she has a lot of triumphs to really balance them out well. And you can see the strong chemistry that Aang and her have. They stuck with each other through thick and thin, even though I'm sort of a Zuko Katara fan. But even then, you could really see the strength and the bond that Aang and Katara have for each other, and even the respect and love that they have for each other. So definitely Katara is a character that I found myself rooting for from beginning to end. And then you have Sokka, who, even though he's goofier than Katara, and is also kind of the opposite of the opposite of Katara, he is someone who is made of wind. He's funny, he's charming. He even has moments where he can be such a badass. Even though Katara is a waterbender, Sokka is someone who's proved himself to be a very capable and very kick-ass warrior. He's a warrior in training who is strong in his mind and his body, and someone who is definitely training himself not just to become a really great warrior, but someone who's willing to fight for the good of his tribe and for his own country. That's what really makes Sokka such a multi-dimensional character. At first glance, you might think he's a ladies' man, he's someone who's goofy, someone who loves to crack sarcastic jokes. But once you get to the meat of his character, once you get into the awesomeness of his character, then he starts to become someone who you have to sort of reckon with when it comes to his fighting skills, when it comes to his use of strategy. You could see that he wants to emulate his father as well, who also plays a huge part in both Katara's and Sokka's life. And I like to speak briefly about their father, Hakoda. Hakoda is a very great father to both of his kids, and even though he's been captured by the Fire Nation, he's someone that has basically instilled such great virtues to both of his children, making him such a great father. And Sokka really does emulate what he's learned from his father in becoming a great warrior. Yes, he may not always think before he acts, but he does learn his lessons one way or the other. And he has such a charm to his character that makes him very wonderful and just very much addicting to watch. And even the romances that he gets himself into, they're a lot of fun to watch as well. But more than anything, that's what really makes Sokka a very multi-dimensional character. And then you have Momo and Appa, pretty much the fun characters of the show. Momo is made of a lot of fun as well. He's cute and just has a lot of fun moments. And Appa is basically the backbone of helping the Team Avatar get to their journeys. He serves as the group's main form of transportation and has pretty much become family to Aang ever since many years ago. That's what really makes Appa such a very wonderful character, and when he got captured, I felt so sorry for him. I felt that my heart could really go out to him and really root that he'll escape one way or the other. That's what really makes Momo and Appa very great characters and pretty much like family to Aang and his friends. And then we get to Zuko. At first, Zuko starts off as a villain, but later on the series, he starts off as an anti-villain / anti-hero and then a redeemed hero. What he goes through is very interesting and very well thought out. Because at first you might think, oh my gosh, here's the typical emo jerk wanting to capture the Avatar to restore his honor. You may think that he starts to become quite unlikable after that, but the writers really know what to do with his character and really flesh him out, and that's what really makes me really go out for Zuko. Whenever there are moments in which he's alone and all hurt, I'd love to just jump to the screen and hug him because he's someone that has pretty much meant well to me and even meant well to a lot of the fangirls as well. And he really is a fan favorite when all is said and done. He's someone that has had such a freaking tragic past. I mean, when he refused an Agni Kai with his father because he thinks it'd be wrong and dishonorable, he ends up being scarred on the face or even burnt on the face, one side of his face specifically. And it hurts to see him. Every time that Zuko breaks down, you just feel agonized. And when Zuko redeems himself and Katara forgives him, you just can't help but give Zuko a hug as well. So overall, Zuko does go through such an odyssey. It's not just Aang, but it's Zuko as well. And even to become Aang's firebending trainer is really such a huge accomplishment for him. And then we get to his uncle, Uncle Iroh, definitely another fan favorite character as well, mostly well known for his happy-go-lucky, goofy, and very fun nature as well. And someone who's also meant well in Zuko's life, almost like a father figure. You could really see that Uncle Iroh has done most of the father work that Ozai has failed to do. What makes Uncle Iroh a very fascinating and very awesome character is that once upon a time, he was also a member of the Fire Nation army, and he was even a general, but he ended up retiring, and a lot of Fire Nation people think that, oh, he's not even reliable for the job. And he basically raised his son Luten. Unfortunately, Luten died in the war, leading Uncle Iroh to become very depressed and very sad that he has lost the one person that has meant well in his life. And he even starts to become like a surrogate father to Zuko. And when Zuko betrayed him, all because Zuko was still fixated on like his honor and all that type of stuff of pleasing his father, well, Uncle Iroh calls him out for that and reminds Zuko that he should never let go of the one thing that has meant well for him, that has made him pure, and to continue to find that. And you could really see that Uncle Iroh does care for Zuko. He is like a father to him. He is like someone who's meant well for him all through his life. And I kept rooting for Uncle Iroh to really be that father to Zuko. And that's what really makes him awesome. Then you get to one of the big another big bad, but pretty much one of the series' big bads of the show, Azula. What really makes Azula such a wonderful villainess is the fact that she never gives up. Her mind is always set on the goal. She's someone who can use a lot of things, manipulation, and even play a lot of torturous mind games on you just to mess you up. And despite the fact that she's also a great firebender, even mastering the blue lightning technique, she's someone who just loves to mess you up and play mind games with you. That's what really makes Azula such an awesome character and someone that I'm actually afraid and even love to hate. And she even goes through a character arc herself. She knows that she's a monster towards her mom, but hides it in pomp and through thinking that she's the best. And what happens to Azula in the end is pretty damn heartbreaking, though part of me also likes to say, serves you right, you bitch. But still, Azula is a very complex and very interesting and very awesome villainess as well. She also does have her human moments, but more than anything, she's at her best when she is bad. And that's what really makes her awesome as a villainess. And then you get to the huger bad of the series, Ozai, the very man who's made Zuko's life a living hell and who's basically idolized Azula a lot more. He's basically the huge asshole, but more than anything, he's a threat. This guy is more than just an asshole. He's definitely someone who has disrupted the natural balance. He's a tyrant. He is a slave driver. He is pretty much a corrupt politician. He is someone who's made Zuko's life a living hell, and he's the big bad of the show. But that's what really fascinates me. He's someone who's allowed power and corruption to really corrupt his mind and really make himself want to be big than the rest of the others. Someone who really wants to prove that he's the big shot of this damn place, and he's willing to kick everybody else's ass. And that's what really makes Ozai a very fascinating and pretty much a terrifying villain, though he is also a horrible role model as well. And then you have Mei and Ty Lee, who at first serve as Azula's henchwomen, but they also have very interesting personalities. Mei, even though she has a very cold demeanor and spouts out really one of the best one-liners of the shows as well, has admitted that she has lived her life as a rich, pampered person, though she always has to make sure that she behaves well and is constantly under the watchful eye of both of her parents, and even has to be a good role model to her baby brother, Tom Tom. She is definitely a very interesting and very complex character as well. And even though I don't really care with Mei and Zuko being a couple, even though they were at one point, I have to say that her interactions with Zuko are actually pretty cool and sweet. I'm sort of, like I said, I'm more of a Zuko Katara fan and Toph Aang fan, and also at some points I even like to pair Jet with Mei. But still, Mei is another interesting and very lovable character, and someone that I like to be a best friend to on a lot of occasions. Ty Lee is the complete opposite of Mei. She's bubbly and fun, and someone that I like to have a party with. She is also a member of the circus because she's extremely well known for her acrobatic techniques, her use of chi blocking, and she's pretty much a deadly fighter despite the fact that she has a very sunny disposition. She's someone who's also very interesting, and she also goes through an interesting character arc on the beach as well. And I'm not going to spoil it until I talk about those episodes, but what she goes through is rather heartbreaking. But still, she has a very sunny disposition, and she's just awesome and badass as a fighter. She's a great example of beware the nice ones. And then you have King Boomy, who is a very fun character, eccentric and made of pure badassery. Jet is also another fascinating character as well because, yeah, he does start off having such noble intentions in fighting what is right for his tribe with a help from Longshot and Smellerbee. But even though his actions do prove to be rather rash and uncalled for, he's still a very fascinating, charming character. And even the extra minor characters like Chan from the beach and Ranjan. I actually prefer Chan better because I hate to sound really shallow. Because even though Chan is pretty much your typical jock who thinks that he's the huge hot shot everywhere, he is someone who is a total hottie as well, especially when he flexed his bicep to Azula when Azula commented they had such strong arms. Yeah, he may not be an interesting character, but he is a pretty fun character to watch as well. And he's also, yeah, I hate to sound like a total fanboy, he is pretty handsome as well. And overall, I have to say that the characters are just so awesome, especially that of Toph. I mean, Toph is such a really great character as well, and someone who manages to work well off of Aang's very sweet guy next door disposition. Toph is basically like the deadpan snarker slash someone who is a pretty much a jock girl as well, which I really love about her. She also goes through a character arc as well in which she was daughter of royalty as well, but she chooses to cut her own path. That's what really makes her such a badass character. And even the likes of Suki, who is basically a member of the Kyoshi Warriors, she's someone who's a great fighter and someone who is, well, a very awesome and kick-ass character. Yue is also a wonderful character as well because of the fact that even though she does appear for one episode and makes a cameo in several others as the Moon Spirit, she is someone who I actually really love and really treasure as a character, mostly because she's sweet and very likable. So overall, the characters in this show, really awesome and made of pure win. Especially the voice acting. You've had voice actors like Zeke Taylor Eisen, Mae Whitman, who has a very prolific career as a child voice actress and is still voice acting to this very day, who worked on stuff like Johnny Bravo as Little Susie, and here she is voicing Katara, giving such a wonderful portrayal of a very kick-ass female character, and Jack DeSena, who you all know in the later seasons of All That, and here he was voicing Sokka. Zach Taylor Eisen also had a voice role in Little Bill voicing Andrew, and here he was voicing Aang. Then Jessie Flower, who manages to give Toph her signature spunk. Cricket Lee as May, who manages to give her signature snark. Olivia Hack, another Hey Arnold voice actress, finding herself in such an awesome show, gives Ty Lee her bubbly nature. And then you have Dante Basco, who's very well known for Jake Long, and even Rufio from Hook, gives Zuko a lot of dimension and a lot of depth. Mako was a very fabulous Uncle Iroh, giving him his trademark hilarity, and then he was replaced by Greg Baldwin. Both of these voice actors really did manage to bring out a very fatherly nature to Iroh. And then you have the very fabulous Grey Delisle as Azula, and you have Mark Hamill as the magnificent bastard Ozai, and then you have a lot of other voice actors and actresses as well, especially actors and actresses who've had some parts in live action, whether it be television or movies, the likes of Clancy Brown or Eric Von Detten, and many other characters, many other voice actors as well. Oh yeah, and even Jason Isaacs, who voiced General Zhao. Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic as well. So overall, the voice acting is top notch. The same thing I could say for the entirety of the show. It is excellent. It is brilliant. It's pretty much Nickelodeon's masterpiece, and you know what rating I'm going to give it. A 5 out of 5 stars. It's actually no surprise of what rating I'm going to give it. You know it's going to be a 5-star. You know it's going to be a perfect-ass show. You know that you pretty much have to watch it if you haven't heard of the show already, unless you've been living under a rock. And for those of you who've already watched this show, then I highly suggest that you go watch it again. I do have the 3rd season on DVD, which is my personal favorite season out of all the 3 seasons, and for a really great reason. It's the strongest season in my opinion. And overall, I have to say that Avatar: The Last Airbender is a masterpiece in every single way and has made itself one of the best American anime that I've watched. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in much later where I take a look at the top 25 favorite Avatar The Last Airbender episodes. So until then, see you later, everybody, and I hope you all had a great summer.